When I was a kid, I loved the fact that The Wizard of Oz would come onto TV every April in vivid color. It was wonderful. But then all of a sudden one day it just disappeared. It wasn't there anymore. And I thought, what happened to all those characters? Where did they go? And I did a little research and I found out that Dorothy ended up in other movies like Return to Oz and The Great and Powerful Oz. And she's even got a small part in Wicked Part 2. But what happened to the Cowardly Lion? And then I saw a movie, and he was the mascot for MGM. He was there every time I saw a Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer picture. And he'd get that beautiful roar, and so he had a great job. The Scarecrow, well, scarecrows can get work anywhere. They can work in fields, and they have a big season around Halloween where they sit on people's porches and go into corn mazes. He had a great job. But what happened to the Tin Man? Well, one day I was driving with Mom and Dad down on Kilgore in Muncie, Indiana. In front of the Muncie Sheet Metal Works, there was the Tin Man in all his glory, standing up like that. And I thought, that's where he went. The Tin Man lives in Muncie, Indiana now. And I even found out that during the day he stood straight up, but at night he would go off on adventures on his own. You see, the Tin Man had gotten his heart, but he wanted to have someone to share it with. So over at the Muncie Lumber Yard, there was this 20-foot statue of Paul Bunyan. And in the evenings, they'd have conversations. And the Tin Man said, "When a man is just a kettle, he should be on his mettle, but yet I'm torn apart. Just because I'm presuming that I could be kinda human if I only had a heart." And Paul said, "Well, you know, if you go over to the campus of the university, there's this statue of Beneficence, and she's gorgeous. She has wings and a long gown. She's just the loveliest thing you ever saw. You should go talk to her, 'cause I hear she's kind of shy." So it took him a long time, but the Tin Man went over to the university, and there was Beneficence in all her beautiful glory, her shining face, but she was hiding it a little bit. Well, the Tin Man began to sing to her. He said, "You're wonderful, you're lovely, I want to get to know you." And she said, "All right, we can do that." And so they carried on conversations every night. And eventually, Beneficence, that beautiful woman statue, asked him, "You know, what is it that you most want out of life?" And the Tin Man thought for a minute, and he thought, "Well, ma'am, I'd really like to be able to travel because I'm kind of heavy, and all I can do is walk around town. I can't get very far." So they decided they'd go on adventures. One night they flew clear across from Muncie all the way to Metropolis in Illinois, and there was Superman, because he's their mascot, and he was out at night. And you know, that lady Beneficence, she thought Superman was pretty good looking. But fortunately for the Tin Man, she loved him more. And then another night, they went on a long trip and decided they'd stay the day in Belleville, Illinois, where the giant bottle of ketchup is at. And they even had sandwiches. And, you know, there's a little hole in that bottle of ketchup, so they could have ketchup on their sandwiches. Another time, they went other places. They saw Dino the dinosaur out west. But their hearts became entwined at the giant ball of twine in Cocker, where they were married and had a wonderful time. They came back to Muncie, and, you know, years later, they decided they were going to retire. And so in Muncie, they started the Over the Rainbow Inn. And at the Over the Rainbow Inn, the monkeys, the flying monkeys, would do room service. And the Munchkins, why, they served the meals and turned over your bed. And in Muncie, Indiana, to this very day, there's a little plaque that notes where that was at because the inn was torn down long ago. And it said, "This was once the home of the Tin Man and Beneficence, where they lived happily all their lives." Thank you.